Hi, we're doing gingerbread, people, today. This is from the Martha Stewart Cookie Cookbook. The recipe in the cookbook makes a gigantic amount, so I'm doing a half recipe for the video here. So full recipe in the bottom, this is the half recipe. 2 3/4 cups of flour. Add half a teaspoon of baking soda. 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. 1 1/4 teaspoons of ground cloves. 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. And a half a teaspoon of grated nutmeg. And then you're going to stir that into the flour so that it's well combined and all the spices are evenly distributed throughout that. And set it aside. And then you're going to do the wet ingredients, which is half a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of butter. It's at room temperature so it's nice and soft. Cream those two together until it's light and fluffy. And then add an egg and 1 1/4 cups of molasses. And then blend those wet ingredients together. And then just add the flour. If you're beating it with a hand mixer, start off really slow because the flour is going to fly everywhere. And then just beat it until it's well combined. Now I found that the end result was an extremely wet, sticky dough. Like really wet, sticky. So I was doubting myself whether or not I measured the flour correctly. I think I might have skimped it a little bit on the flour. So I just added a tiny bit of flour here, just so that I could disengage the dough from the bowl. It was really stuck to it. So I added just a tiny bit of flour here. So you may not have to do this depending how it turns out. And then just dump the flour onto your countertop. And then you're going to cut the dough in half, and you're going to just put either wrap it in wax paper. I'm just putting it into plastic bags. And then you're just going to chill it in the refrigerator for at least an hour. I'd say probably a couple of hours would be even better. I had put mine in for overnight. Actually, I did bake the cookies the next day. So put parchment paper on a cookie sheet, and why it needs to be on a cookie sheet, you'll find out in a moment. And then put lots of flour on the parchment paper. Don't skimp, just put lots of flour on the parchment paper. And then a little bit of flour on top of the dough that's been chilled, and some on the rolling pin. And then just roll this out until you get about a 1/4 inch thickness. And the important part here is try to get it the even thickness, so you don't have it really thin on the edges. And then when you're done, brush out the excess flour and freeze it until firm, about 15 minutes. It'll just be lots easier to handle if it's well chilled. It's well worth the time to chill the dough. And then just cut out your shapes. And I'm doing a couple big ones. I don't know who I'm going to give them to yet, but I did a couple of big ones, and I did a bunch of small ones that I'm going to just put in my cookie planner for Christmas. And I saw this really cute little gingerbread man in a magazine, and you do the big gingerbread man, and then you cut out a little heart in the center of the gingerbread man. It's really cute. You may want to flour your cookie cutters in between because they do stick. This is really sticky dough. Now, one of the main reasons I'm telling you to flour your parchment very well is this part here, is trying to get the cutout cookies off of the parchment. If there's not a lot of flour, you're going to have a hard time to do this. So pry them off, put them on the cookie sheet. These spread just a tiny bit, so just keep them about at least a half an inch apart on the cookie sheet. Half inch and 3/4 of an inch apart. And then, you guessed it, goes back in the freezer for 15 minutes. And then you're going to make it to 350 for 12 to 14 minutes until the edges are light brown. And Martha says crisp, but not darkened. Just a tiny bit brown. And then you're going to decorate. You're going to decorate as desired after they're cool, of course. And your scrap dough, you're going to have to go through the same chilling process because the dough will get soft again. So just put the dough back in the freezer and then roll it out and then just go through the process to use up all the scraps. The actual gingerbread itself is delicious. It's really, really good. I've done other gingerbread recipes that are easier. The dough is easier to handle, and you don't have to chill it as often. But it's a very nice dough, as you can see. They baked up very nice. The cutouts are quite nice. I think it's all that chilling that really made the cutouts come out so well. So you just kind of decorate it the way you want to, like I'm doing here. I'm doing a man and a lady. And then for the little hearts, I'm just putting a little bit of icing on them, and then I'm dunking them into some colored sugar for little hearts. And a little bit of icing, and I just stick it on there. And this icing actually hardens quite nicely when it's dry, so they stick on there very well. And there you go, your finished gingerbread people. So this is a nice recipe. It's very fussy and hard to work with, but they turned out quite well, as you can see. There you go, gingerbread people.